Here we go. Hey, Anthony, I just finished mopping up all the tears because of your technology errors yesterday. It was so sad.
You know what? It's 90 degrees and sunny in New York, so I'm happy.
Sure, give or take 60 degrees or so.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Anthony Melchiori, so good to see you today. I'm so happy to be here. I, of course, am Glenn Hausman with Anthony Melchiori. Thank you for joining us on No Vacancy Live. Anthony, so good to see you today. Boy, do you look good today.
You know what? It's good to be seen. And you know what? I just want to get to the end of this, brother. It's we're chopping at the bit. So hopefully we're out of here. But before we go on, there was a article I know that we have ready to pull up that I want to talk about.
We will.
But before we do that, let's talk about our friends at Best Buy.
Yes, we are going to talk about our friends at Best Buy. Guys, do me a favor, check out Best Buy Business. You can find them at bestbuy.com/hospitality because you know they do a whole lot more by this point than just those televisions. They've got all the brands anyway, whichever ones you want. They'll help you with patio furniture, in-room sanitizing solutions. And the good thing is they do a lot of distribution through our friends over at Alamo Hospitality. So using them is a big, big win-win. They're 4,000 Geek Squad agents that'll help you. Check them out at bestbuy.com/hospitality. Anthony, also joining us today for the next month or so, Bright Support Services. You might have seen them yesterday, as a matter of fact. And guys out there, do you want to know a secret? Your hotel property taxes are way too high. That's right. But you already know that, didn't you, right? In 2020, if it was hard on your occupancy, if it was hard on your profits, there is hope. Bright Support is there to help you save money in your budget this year. But remember, if you don't ask, you will not get. Spend 5 minutes on the phone with Bright Support time, and they will help you. Check them out at brightsupport.net/hotels. That's brightsupport.net/hotels. Give them a call at 833-411-2233. Tell them No Vacancy sent you. Chances are you will get your property taxes lowered. We all need that happening, Anthony. How are you feeling today?
You know, that leads right into they can really get to work with a lot of hotels in New York City.
Yeah.
There was an article that 140 hotels, right, closed.
146.
146, and they counted for how many room nights?
42,030 rooms. 1/3 of the city's 128,000 rooms that were open.
Right. The good news and bad news in there. All right. The good news is a lot of those hotels are going to reopen.
Yep.
Okay. I truly believe that. The bad news,
by different owners, right?
What's that?
But with different owners, probably.
Potentially, or maybe they just closed because it costs more money to keep them running. There's each one is each one has its own plan.
True.
A lot of them didn't want to bring, they're home. A lot of them are homeless hotels in the city now, and they didn't want to bring the homeless population to the hotel. Right. So there's a lot of reasons, and a lot just went closed. I think the ones that are closing for good were having problems pre-pandemic, to be perfectly honest with you. But the interesting thing in that number is 42,000 rooms, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have 127,000 rooms in the city, right? Minus 42,000. Do the math real quick there, my friend. You're a smart guy, right?
86.
Okay. Before, I'd say 6 years ago, you know how many rooms we had in the city?
Yeah. Not as many as there were now.
We have more rooms at 86,000 than pre-pandemic. So before the pipeline really got out of control in New York City, we had about 70,000. That was kind of the number that was ticking along for a long time. Mm-hmm. And then we went up to 80,000, 90,000. And then there was an explosion of room nights. And so 86,000 room nights in New York City is not like, oh my God, New York City's going out of business. It sustained us for many, many years. And a lot of people would say that 120 room nights was a little bit too much going forward for 10 or 15, 20 years. Sure, it was helpful during the real surge. But so what I'm saying is that is an article. It scares the living crap out of people. It didn't make me feel good when I read it and sent it over to you guys, but it is, we gotta be educated when we read. And
right. And a lot of people, Anthony, they don't understand the full context, which you just help elucidate there right now, because a lot of this is indeed a self-inflicted wound. New York City is such an incredible place. Every hotel brand wants to be represented, and typically not just by one hotel in Manhattan, but by other hotels in the outer boroughs. And you know this as well as I do, probably even better, that at the top of the market, hoteliers were struggling for profitability because they couldn't push rates anymore. There was way too much competition in the city. So when the market drops out and nobody's coming to the city, it's only natural to see that a lot of these hotels that were struggling already wouldn't be able to survive.
Real estate taxes were crazy, and a lot of the big hotels in Times Square, a lot of their tax abatement went away. And also, I mean, I don't know how many people know how much housekeepers make in New York City, and they deserve every single penny of it. But a housekeeper makes upwards of $40 an hour, plus, which they deserve every penny of it. But it costs a lot of money to have employees in hotels in New York City, which it should, because I think everybody should have a living wage and everybody should be able to not worry about where the next meal is coming from. With that said, between the taxes, between the competition, between payroll, between, fruit and vegetables have gone through the roof in the last 5-6 years.
Yep.
So everything is just creeping up. And even the best hotels that were the busiest hotels in New York City were having problems pre-pandemic. So this is a flushing out of sorts. And, the strong will survive, and we'll be back. Let's not take that article and send it to all our friends saying New York City is going to be closed for the rest of our lives. Let's not use that narrative, because that's why I wanted to mention it. I wanted to be able to, we have to read these articles, and then if you don't understand really what it means, make sure you talk to somebody that knows what it means. It's not great, but there's more to it.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. A lot of times with all stories in the news, there's a lack of context. And Anthony and I have been in this business for a long time, a little bit longer than I'd like to admit at this point because I'm getting so old. But the truth is, there's always a lot of things going on that we don't fully understand. So if you take something at face value, it may lead you down the wrong path when you're trying to make decisions in like your career or your investments.
How many times, whether it be my kids or friends or whatever, said to me on January 6th, the government's going to get overthrown because of what Pence can do or not do. I was like, read the Constitution. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And it's not a Republican or Democrat. It's not going to happen. So I made sure I read a lot, and I made sure I understood it. And I spoke to lawyers, and I spoke to a lot of different people that do this for a living. And then I started to get comfortable with, okay, it is going to be what it is going to be. And so you just got to, when I have a friend, I'll just say friend, that's a headline reader. Okay. But read the article. The article, a lot of times, 90% of what's in the headline doesn't even show up in the article.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Clickbait, everybody's got to really, don't be afraid about anything else in the world but clickbait. Clickbait is the most dangerous thing we have.
I agree. I would like to thank HuffPost right now for introducing that into our society. When they first started, they seemed to be pretty legitimate, but then they started with all these crazy articles. I'm not going back in the last 5 years. I'm going back farther than that.
Really? I didn't know that. What's the name? Huffington Post?
Yeah, right.
Oh, it was when she sold out, huh?
Once she sold out, things kind of like totally changed, which was interesting. Ariana Huffington herself was much more right of center.
Sure.
And then after she left, it went like crazy.
Do you remember when Trump was running for president, she put all of his information, quotes, and everything in the entertainment section. She wouldn't even talk about it in the political section.
That's right. And they had a disclaimer at the bottom. Right.
So anyway, so who are we talking to? What are we doing today?
All right. We're going to bring on our guest in a second, but how long are we into the conversation? Will it be available later? Yes, Jeffrey. Every single show we do is available in perpetuity, not just at novacancynews.com, but wherever you are watching it right now. So if you're watching it on Anthony's LinkedIn page or my LinkedIn page or the No Vacancy Facebook page or Anthony's Facebook page, it stays there. You can watch it anytime and share it with all your friends.
But iTunes is where most people watch it or listen to it. So please go to iTunes or anywhere you can get your podcast. That's where most people watch it. And we're also going to be, our producers working on, with my assistant Kalindra, is working on categorizing all of our shows. So you'll be able to, if you're looking for revenue management or you're looking for marketing or you're looking for leadership or whatever you're looking for, you'll be able to find 3, 5, 10. Because we're up to words of 275 podcasts at this point?
A lot. I mean, we've been at it for 10 months doing this, plus the Checking In with Anthony and
So
Glenn.
we're getting close to 300, no?
Something I don't know the exact number off the top of my head. I have to look it up.
Our crack producer is going to find out for us.
He
So.
will. I'm sure he will. But what I'm saying is a combination between all the shows that we started 10 months ago, plus the 2 years of shows we were doing prior to that. They're all available at Checking In with Anthony and Glenn.
We were doing this podcast for 2 years prior to this.
Yeah, man. We're already way into our third year now.
No.
Yes.
No, he's talking about Checking In with Anthony and Glenn overall, not just No Vacancy Live.
I understand. Oh, his No Vacancy is 3 years. But
No, my vacancy is 5 years.
No, me and you have been partners for almost going on 3 years.
Yep.
Holy crap. Holy hopping. No wonder you get better looking every day. I see you every day and you just keep getting better looking.
All right. Now I'm getting embarrassed. Let's move on. Raj Trivedi's coming back. You guys might know Raj. Right now, he's an investor in the hospitality industry. But before that, before he decided to go off on his own, he was president of none other than La Quinta. He's been around forever and a day. Sorry to insult you by saying one of the top franchise guys in the entire business. He has been absolutely amazing. Everybody knows him behind the scenes in the business. He's a guy that was a constant at all of the trade shows that were out there on the financial side of the business. Raj, welcome back to No Vacancy Live and Checking In with Anthony and Glenn.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, my friend. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
When we last had you on the show, we were talking about some certain issues, but before we get to that, what owners are thinking, what operators are thinking, what development companies are thinking, what brands are thinking. What do you think about that story that we were talking about with 1/3 of hotels closing in New York? How do you see it? How do you see New York and other urban centers changing in the next few years?
And I will say, just so people understand, when they say New York, they don't mean New York City proper. There's 5 boroughs in New York. So a lot of hotels live off of what happens in the city. So a lot of those hotels are the hotels that couldn't make it because they went to Long Island City or they went to Brooklyn and they couldn't make it because the city's not doing well. So they couldn't do well. So it's not, don't think of just New York City proper. I'm sorry, Raj.
So as I look at New York City and many of our larger cities like Chicago and Seattle and all other places, if you look at past 10 years trend, quite a lot of business in those cities came from international traveler,
Right.
as well as meeting planners and business travelers. Ironically, for the first time in the history of our industry, in that last 9 months, international travel is pretty much shut down, particularly leisure related. And 2, business meetings and business traveling is not taking place. Now let's talk about New York City. New York City has added so many rooms in last 5 to 7 years. However, even within those 5 to 7 years, they were able to absorb the incoming supply and continue to perform at a high occupancy and a high rate. So what I see is, I agree with Anthony, if not all, majority of the hotels will come back in the business. Right now, they're being supported by the government, and also the new package hopefully will be approved pretty soon, and the new help is on the way. And that will sustain these hotels. And if vaccine is the new mandate's been announced, that will be taken care by the end of the summer. If that happens, I think we may be back in the business starting 2022 and 2023. We might be again at the top or growth or record numbers, in my opinion.
But you know what? So it's interesting. Again, we're at the date. Where are we in? We're in January. So we're in January, February. We're in January.
27th.
So in January, we've now starting to talk about 2022, right? It's like we started in March saying June, then we said August, and then we said September, and then we said 2021, and now we're already thinking 2022. And that's really realistic. I think the fourth quarter, you're going to start seeing small meetings, but I think you're right. 2022 is the year.
I think as we pass a couple of more months, comparative numbers are going to start to look much better.
Okay.
Because the real pandemic did not start till March. And that's when we started seeing the decline. So versus last year, this year's numbers are going to look good. But the growth to the level where we were in 2019 may happen around 2023, or acceleration of growth will happen starting 2022. You will start seeing better results beginning second quarter of this year.
I got some numbers, which is why I keep trying to only my way into this conversation. According to the AHLA State of the Hotel Industry Report for 2021, it looks like they say among frequent business travelers who are currently employed, 29% expect to attend their first business conference in the first half of this year, 36% in the second half, and 20% more than a year from now. Business travel is not expected to return to 2019 levels until 2023 or 2024. Now, of course, leisure travel is expected to return first. And the report said consumers are optimistic about travel, with 56% saying they're likely to travel for leisure or vacation in 2021, while 34% already comfortable staying in a hotel, have me around that, and 48% said their comfort is tied to a vaccination the same way. So with business travel down and leisure travel coming up, I think what you're saying rings true for the overall industry. Doesn't help places like New York, which had 65 million visitors plus in 2019 and like 12 visitors last year,
Pretty much.
No, I think we had 11. I don't think we got to 12. But,
to exaggerate a little.
Yeah, but you know what? New York it's unlike any other city that it will come back. The spring will go like this. It will absolutely open like boom. I truly believe that once we have a vaccine, and I think in 2022, going in 2023, I agree with Raj, the city is going to be back. But the good news is, I think even pre-pandemic levels, I'd say even a year ago or 2 years, hotels could do quite well with those numbers. Okay, so you don't need the week or the month or 6 months before the pandemic to hit those numbers for hotels to be profitable and for hotels to be functioning at a pretty high level. Though that was a lot of gravy, and hotels were, there's a lot of hotels sitting on the side right now, a lot of owners sitting on the side with a lot of cash because of those years. So we don't need to get to pre-pandemic levels for hotels to be okay. Raj, is that do you agree with that, or?
I agree. I would also say this: New York is the capital of the world, not just the United States, in my opinion, when it comes to business travel and leisure activities. But New York is the capital of the world, and it will be the capital of the world as we move forward. It is among the most resilient cities I know, and it will come back with vengeance. I agree with you. It will come back in full force and faster than one can imagine.
And we're going to have somebody on tomorrow that is going to be able to talk to that. And he is a person that has, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he feels it's going to be this summer with a couple of Broadway shows actually in theaters. And that is good news because we know the world goes as Broadway goes. Right. When Broadway is on fire, the entire world is hopping. And so we're going to have a gentleman named Charles Flatman, who they call Mr. New York, on tomorrow. And I am ridiculously excited because he knows the inner workings of New York like nobody else, and he'll really be able to lend some perspective.
Right. He's the CEO of the Schubert Organization, the group behind all of Broadway. Is that correct, Anthony?
Right. And he's I believe, CEO or chairman of New York and Company.
Wow. Now that is pretty awesome to have somebody who's got both those credentials in there. Now, Anthony said a great point, Raj, about you don't have to worry about those numbers right before the pandemic. One of the things that I've been telling people in order to keep sane and not want to kill themselves is think back 5 years ago when you were making a lot of money and people were like, this trend can't go on any longer. That would be a better benchmark for you psychologically to think.
But it would be interesting, Raj, and I like your perspective on this. When we get back and things get busy, are people going to have this mindset of, yes, I need to make money, and yes, I need to get back to work, but I kind of like getting up. I'm not talking about me, but getting up at 9 o'clock in the morning, having my coffee, sitting in my pajamas, going in the backyard, working out when I want to, maybe I work a little bit later in the night, but that's okay because I just love the flow of it. And now I got to go back at it. And a lot of people are going to have to go back and commute and things like that. What do you think of the mindset of people going back? Do you think the executive, I'm not talking maybe the 20-year-old, the 30 or 40-year-old, is going to have difficulty getting back to the grind and getting back to the regular life?
I don't think so. I think human interaction is the key. So how do I envision changes taking place because of this COVID? I think the internal travel, what I mean by internal travel, that companies' meetings will not be as robust as they used to be. Internal departmental meetings from one city to the other.
Long term, you're saying long term that probably won't come back.
No, I'm talking short term. They will not come back. They will remain on the Zoom, or virtual meetings will take place because people have gotten comfortable. However, meeting with the clients, industry conferences, trade shows will come back because they have not taken place in 2 years, and people are hungry to meet with each other. People are hungry to exchange the ideas. People are absolutely ready to conduct business and build those relationships with clients and get new clients. Now,
Right.
as was mentioning that 5 years ago people were making money in the hotel industry. A lot has changed in 5 years, gentlemen. Keep in mind what Anthony was mentioning earlier. Labor cost has jumped dramatically in 5 years.
That's right.
The cost of supplies, the cost of F&B has jumped dramatically in 5 years. The cost of technology and utility cost has jumped dramatically in 5 years. Cost of production and FF&E related items have jumped dramatically in 5 years. So the margins have shrunk. So what has happened because of that? That your break-even point has gone from 45% occupancy to 50% occupancy to now maybe mid-50s to late 50s where you can break even. So I think two things need to happen. Yes, you can make money that you did 5 years ago, provided you reach right level of occupancy, or you find a way to reduce the cost and help our hotel partners to get back to the margins that they are used to in any of these areas that I just outlined.
Well, I think the good news is you're seeing that now. You're seeing that in housekeeping. You're seeing that with technology. You're seeing that at the front desk. You're seeing that with limited service hotels where you have the food service, the front desk. You're starting to see efficiencies. You saw it the last 5 or 10 years. You're seeing it on overdrive now because we're forced to do it. You're starting to realize the general manager doesn't have to sit and polish his desk all day. Not saying that a lot of them have. I'm not, because I'm a general manager, but I'm just saying is, it's not. Why does it take 10 years to check somebody in? Why, a general manager hasn't checked somebody in or cleaned a room in 10 years? Why? Like, I think people are going to start realizing that people, managers, supervisors could pull some shifts, could work. Now, I'm not saying in the bigger hotels, I'm not saying that should be long-term, but there are so many efficiencies that we've taken for granted, that some that I want to see long-term and some I don't want to see long-term. Like, I don't want to see general managers, pulling shifts, but I think that we, if anything, the reason the general manager, and this better than anyone, Raj, the reason a hotel owner or hotel general manager could run any business is because we run every business every day. And so we're really good at being efficient when we need to, but we get fat and happy like everybody else.
I think industry in general needs to focus on it. That not just include the operators, that just not include the owners. That
don't you think that's being forced?
Includes the brands.
But don't you think that's being forced? The brands are getting. Don't you think they're hearing that every day? Don't you think their efficiencies, because a lot of their corporate structure are gone for good, they're going to have efficiencies, and in that efficiencies, they're going to have to bring those savings back to the hotels. And because there's so much competition, don't you think they're going to be forced to do that? Because it's going to take one company to do something that no other company is willing to do to really make those efficiencies happen.
I hope you're right, because I will also tell you historically that what we get into is the amenity creep. We assume that the guests want this and guests want that, and the brands don't have to put money out of their pocket. So they keep adding because that they think it provides extra amenity or extra facility to the guests. And many a times we do. I'll give you an example. Very simple example is the pool. If you look at the pool, except for resort locations, how often does a guest go into a pool in a roadside property or a business district property? Very seldomly. It is used by less than 3% of the guests, but every brand has a requirement of a pool and a spa. Now, we need to rethink ourselves that is it necessary? If you look at breakfast, we have so many items in the breakfast today, but people are starting to eat healthy. How can we remove some of those items that are not being used and they're perishable, that cannot be used again? How can we manage those things appropriately in a fashion, or collect data from the guest as they QR code or various other ways. What's your preference on the breakfast, and appropriately prepare for tomorrow. There are a lot of little things that can be done, and I hope you're right that the brands will look into those areas and adjust appropriately.
Well, my friends on the brand side, I'm hearing that conversation a lot. And I'll be honest with you, some of them are so worried about their friend within the company that runs another brand that they're afraid to make the decision. It's got to come from AHOA. It's got to come from AHLA. It's got to come from the owners. We've got to push and we've got to push. And I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that stress. And I'm sure you're seeing it too. And at some point, I think the amenity creep has been around forever. I think we've been talking about it forever. And I think you're going to start seeing there's got to be something that gives. Whereas pre-pandemic, everybody made excuses. It broke. The dam broke. Now, how we rebuild the dam is up to the owners. If we allow the brands and the third parties to rebuild the dam, we're screwed.
So in some ways it's happened already, because you're starting to see growth in extended stay segment more so than any other segment, because it's efficient, because it's
on extended stay on Monday. So anyone who wants to learn more about that topic, watch Monday show. Sorry, please continue.
Amen to that. So extended stay is already showing greater margin. Extended stay is showing efficiency. Extended stay is showing savings. And also, if you look at efficient extended stays, the brands that have been introduced recently are performing exceptionally. So in some ways, you're starting to see those type savings come into place. However, when it comes down to companies having 20, 30 brands in a portfolio, how effectively can provide assistance to all 20 properties to get a fair share of pie becomes critical. One way or other, it's a give and take business, and that's where efficiency needs to come in place as well.
You're seeing owners walk away from brands. You're seeing major players saying, "Hey, I have brands, but now I'm going to do it independently. I'm going to make an announcement probably in a week or two where we're taking on a real big project, and it's not going to be branded, and it's a big project. It's a couple $100 million project, and it's a year. It's taken a year to make the decision of how to move forward with this project, and I think that's going to be a trend. I really do.
I do agree with you, but it's an evolving trend. If any normal hotelier or a hotel owner that owns 3 or 5 hotels, if he or she is trying to build a new hotel and acquire a hotel that they decide to flag independent or boutique, they will have financing issues. Today, financing requires a backup of a brand because that's their security. So as financial institutions understand the magnitude of independent hotels and the channels that they have, that they can become self-sufficient. So in my opinion, it will evolve over a period of time. It will start with the big cities. It will start with the gateway cities, and then it will go further down. However, in certain areas, the brand will remain dominant because that gives you a tremendous security of consistency.
Absolutely.
That I can expect such and such from this brand if I go to their hotels. So that consistency, that guest loyalty that they have in their bag is going to be an enormous arsenal for them to continue successes for a long time to come.
I have another question, but Glenn, do you have a question before I ask my next?
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about people's expectations. Ashwin Patel says people's expectation on service is increasing. So how do we compromise on cutting the cost? It's not practical. I think, Ashwin, I respect what you're saying, but I think we're looking at it from the wrong position. I think the brands have trained everybody to keep expecting more and more and more. And it's not really accurate of what they want or what they would be happy with. There's a big difference between what people say they want as opposed to what they actually need, right? Go back to that Rolling Stone song. You don't always get what you want, but you get what you need, right, Raj?
I think to a certain extent, it's also becoming a competition. A company does something, company B has to do the same, because otherwise they are going to be left behind without any thorough research, making sure that it does make an impact. I think also we give too many things free. Internet, breakfast, some of the other are so costly for brand owners and franchisees to run. We need to rethink and evaluate. Now is the time to retrain the guest. Now is the time that you can take advantage of retraining the guest and providing right expectations. So if I were the brand owner, I would start initiative today to truly understand what are the true essentials that make guests happy. Now, if you ask me, what is it? It's bed, bathroom, and cleanliness.
And internet.
And internet, yes. So these are the four aspects, and of course some entertainment. Now entertainment has changed. If you allow them to bring their own content and watch and view, they're happy with it.
That's right.
Most of the people looking at it, except for live sports. So
Right.
if you can meet these five basic expectations, rest, in my opinion, is whipped cream on top.
Right. And live sports you have on your phone, you stream to your, and you just put on your TV, right? If they have a capability. But I want to go back a little bit, and I want to. One of my things that I've been talking about forever is the education of ownership. I know there are owners that just want portfolios, and I get that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You get 20 hotels and franchisees, and you have a couple of people in your home office, and you figure it out, and you make a lot of money. But what I find is an educated consumer is our best customer. An educated owner that understands the intricacies of the operation in a hotel is really our best bet in making these changes. Because a lot of times, and you've, I'm sure, been on the other side of the table, where you've seen people from emotion react trying to get their way when they don't understand the critical analysis of a P&L for a hotel, of how it runs. And to me, the biggest lack in our industry has been the knowledge of an owner.
I could not agree with you more. I think educated owner provides educated employees, provides
Educated guest.
excellent services to an educated guest. Now, just to ponder, gentlemen, do you realize that a generation of owners are experiencing their first downturn?
Yes.
Because
Generation of everybody.
yes, from
right?
2008 till 2019, industry has seen nothing but growth.
Yep.
And at that point in time, you sometime in the midst of a growth, you forget about little things, you forget about cost part of it, because top line takes care of everything. All of a sudden, you are at a juncture where you need to understand, how can I do the cost savings? Now, the reality is this: a educated owner from day one, regardless of timing in the economy, regardless of the timing in the industry, will pay attention to three things. In my opinion, number one and the most important thing is guest satisfaction. Second thing, and guest satisfaction to me is inside guests and outside guests. What do I mean by that? Your
Thank you for saying
employees,
that. Thank you
your
for saying that.
I'm your employees and your incoming guest. Number two, how can you improve the revenue at your hotel and get the maximum market share you could? And number three, how can you effectively run your hotel efficiently and do the cost savings that will not impact the top two that we just talked about? And if we pay attention to that all the time, and why am I saying this? Because brands will pay attention for next 2 years, but as economy turns and business start getting better, not only the brands, but owners will forget about it too.
Of
And they
course.
will get into the mode of development. But we need to remind ourselves that it is a cyclical industry. Ups and downs are going to happen. And better off you are if you manage these affairs on a daily basis, regardless of the timing of the industry.
But let me ask you a question, and it's not going to be a popular question with the brands, but if banks all of a sudden woke up one morning and say, okay, we don't need brands anymore, we're going to give you financing without brands.
I got a note right here.
Do we have any brand? What's that?
I got a note that I wanted to ask Raj about the bank issue.
If that happened, are brands around anymore?
I will tell you this. So to a certain extent, you are seeing that tilt. There was an article that I just recently read that if you take away the few major hotel companies, the pipeline of incoming hotels for other companies only 12%. So 88% of the pipeline is among the major hotel companies. And why? For two reasons: loyalty program and systems contribution. These companies are providing 50, 60, 70% system contribution. Their loyalty guests are providing 50, 60, 70% of business at these facilities. And so if banks decide tomorrow that no brand's okay, I don't think it's going to be that quick as you think, because there is a enormous loyalty. Now, again, booking rooms through the brand and their loyalty guests is somewhat more economical than booking rooms through the other channels. However, if you take out the franchise fees that you pay to the brand, then it could be other way around. So there is a lot of contemplation that needs to take place. But yes, it is an evolving situation, as I mentioned earlier. Eventually, if you are a owner that understand the quality and consistency of product, quality and consistency of guest expectations, and quality and consistency of guest services, it may take you a little longer to reach and excel to the right level of performance, but you could perform whether you're independent or brand owner. Acceleration of performance may happen much faster if you're affiliated with the right brand.
So I gotta follow up on this bank issue, right? I see a lot of these bankers that are selling, they're selling their services at the financial conferences that we were always at. They know that independent brands can be super strong and be profitable. So why are so many banks still caught up in this whole notion of you have to have one of the major flags on your building for it to count, beyond what you were just saying with the loyalty program and stuff? Because so many other hotels have proven they can be extremely successful without that.
So, Glenn, if you look at the reality is this, that if you have a certain brand or certain flag on your hotel, when you are doing a transaction or selling your hotel, you will get better multiple or lower cap rate just because a certain brand you have, just because a pool of people attracted to buy your facility will be much greater, just because the institutional investors will have interest in you provided you have certain brands, just because the REITs will go after your hotel after it's ramped up or it's built if you have certain brand. So all of these factors come into place. So financial institution is a very small portion of it. They are looking at not just the security of their money, but they're also looking at the appreciation of the money of their money as well as the investors' money. And that happens very differently with different brands and independent. There is a huge gap unless you're in a metropolitan area or unless you're in a resort area, and an independent boutique can work and allow you to grow. That's when it happens. Otherwise, valuation, revenue, market share, and transaction point of view, certain brands have tremendous power today.
I agree with everything you just said, and I think we all learned a little bit something in that conversation. With that said, the power of the P&L sells a hotel.
Amen to that. That's the first step. But power to P&L, and you may have the same EBITDA as somebody else, but
Or better.
Or better. If you have a brand A, your cap rate will be lower than a brand B.
Listen, I'm a brand fan, so I don't want to take this as brand bashing. I think our hotel stays in America are 10 times better than they were 20 years ago because of the brands. I am very comfortable traveling with my family because of the brands. So I understand that. If you get a really good operator, efficient operator, you put me against a brand and in a good market, okay, you're going to have a long day.
Amen. I agree with you also. What has changed in that area? Now you have ability to access guests much easier than you did in the past through the world of web. Web allows you, social media allows you to access your guests independent of a brand. In the past, it was only possible if you are. So I do agree with you that as time progresses, the growth of independent will be great because
I'm sorry.
Because you have much fluid channels to promote your brand, attract and book them. So I do anticipate the trend, but it will take a longer time. It will not instantaneously.
Right. You listen, you have to have operators. You're seeing a lot of people on the food and beverage part. You see a lot of these celebrities take over restaurants and they go out of business like this. Boom, 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 because they're not running the restaurants. When you got a Danielle and you got several other chefs that are running their restaurants every single day. Those restaurants don't go out of business because they're running them every day. So what it comes down to, like if I take on a project, which I'm taking on a couple, we're running them. We're running them. We're not just slapping my name or he's part of this and the owners are part of it and they got a great team. It's like because we're waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and we're worried about everything. So the way you run a hotel, an effective hotel, is you have to have a team, brand or no brand, that is obsessed with going out of business.
Amen to that. So discipline, in my opinion, is the key. Many a times branded hotels work better. Why? Because they have this schedule in place that every 5-7 years you're going to do a renovation. If you become an independent owner, you need to have similar discipline. You need to have similar understanding on a regular basis. You need to have a system in place where you're reserving money to appropriately invest in upgrading the hotel on a regular basis. You need to make sure that you're affiliating with the companies that provide you research on the recent trend of what guests expecting, and you continue to improvise accordingly. Then you're going to be a fantastic owner and be very successful.
And spend the 5% more in the upfront so you don't have to change out in 5 days. I learned that at the Lucerne Hotel on the Upper West Side. Our owners came in, they renovated themselves, and they did not renovate hard goods for over 20 years. And they were maintained unbelievably well. And I think we only changed the carpet a couple of times in that 20 years because they bought really good stuff and they maintained really good stuff. And it was classic. It wasn't something that would be turned over, because the design taste. If you do something that's classic and you use good product. This is the biggest problem is when you go into these hotels that are flipping every 3 or 4 years. Well, when you have a chair that's $49 and you're using it 365 days a year, it's going to fall apart. So isn't it better to buy a chair that's a little bit, because not only you're spending money, but you're potentially shutting down the floor, the cost of delivery, the brain damage that your team's going through. So when you build a hotel and you design a hotel, you've got to have people that have been there and done that understand that, yeah, that's a beautiful color and that's a beautiful chair. It ain't working.
I call that penny wise and dollar foolish decision.
Penny wise, pound foolish. Yeah.
Yeah. And many a times you say that, oh, it looks good, I don't need to get anything else, and I'm getting a great price. But generally in the world, what you pay is what you get.
Yeah. I love when hotel owners get upset that people break stuff in the hotel. I'm like, people break stuff in hotels. It's
because it's breakable.
It's because it's breakable. So now, if somebody slams your chandelier against the wall, that's different.
That's a different story.
How many times have I been in a hotel? Not often, but I've broken things by accident. I have. I mean, I can't remember one incident, but I know 2 or 3 times I was like, oh, crap, I just broke something. And I have to call the front desk. So it happens. But that's when we get back to the education of this business. It's like even doing this show with Glenn. It's like he's so educated in our business, even though he hasn't operated a business. Like he knows the business because he pays attention. And that's been I'm out of breath for the last 20 years talking about don't just depend on your general manager. Don't depend on the brand. Don't depend on the asset manager. Understand. I've learned more from sitting next to an owner that has driven me crazy, that I literally wanted to quit many, 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 many times because the owner just made me go back.
So what prevents the desire to educate is instant success and continued success, because you come to sometime conclusions that, oh, I don't need it because things are going well. We are doing very well. We are doing things right. I'm on top of things. So again, of sure or humble that learn something. Stay what is
Raj, you're getting a little shaky there. You froze up on us right there.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can. Could you please repeat that last statement?
So what I was saying, that education absolutely is essential and necessary, but what stops education is success and continued success. If you have prolonged period of time that you're continuing to be successful, then you don't remain what do you call keen to educate yourself because you assume that we are successful. We don't need to know anything more, and
Right.
we are to grow. However, a smart owner will step away from it, humble, and understand. What has also changed that yes, it is good to buy goods that's durable and can last for a long period of time. 20 years ago, there was not a trend of design change effective and as often as happens today. Today, in age, design trend changes every 5, 7, 10 years. So regardless of what you buy, you will need to adjust certain things because you then current design trend. So yes, you should buy things that last for a good 5, 10 year period, but be ready to replace it and remain current with then design trend.
You know what good leaders have in common? And I would like your perspective. I read a book from the CEO of Intel about 20 years ago. And I remember reading the chapter, and it gave me license to be who I am in business because I'm not like this in my personal life, but in business, I'm paranoid. And I think really good executives are paranoid. Now, not paranoid in the sense that you're breaking stuff because you're nervous about everything. Paranoid in the sense of, hey, that hotel just opened down the block and I heard it's good. Now, a paranoid general manager gets up and goes undercover and understands that hotel by end of day. A general manager that says, oh, that's interesting. I'll get to that next week. I'm the guy that's there day one. I'm the guy going in and out. Even maybe they just opened and I'm going on construction floors and I'm looking through. I'm that guy. And that to me, I'll never lose that. I will never lose that my competition may have an edge up on me. I just never will. That's why I love poker. I just can't help it.
You make a great point, and I will tell you this: that before coming to the interview with Glenn and Anthony, I was a little nervous. Why? Because I wanted to do my best. So, as an owner,
But you'd be the only person that on this show right now that wants to do that.
well, so as an owner, every morning you have got to wake up a little nervous. That what am I not doing that my competition is doing? What do I need to do? Why would it go away? If you are thinking along with positives, what could go wrong? So my father used to say is this: hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And if you go forward that mentality, you have a tremendous possibility and opportunity to prepare yourself for any conditions, and that bring a greater level of success. And so I always believe that having a level of nervousness to perform your best makes you better.
Yeah, and I think there's two types of fighters, right? There's the knockout punch that usually that fighter usually doesn't last very long. And then there's the guy that's going to jab you in the face and you can't breathe because you just keep getting – I'm that guy. If you come into – I always say you come into my city, you come into my comp set, I may not knock you out. I may not even beat you. But I'm going to make you worried and concerned every day that you're going to have to be better than me today. Every day you're going to have to be better than me. And I may exhaust you and then I'll win. But I am going to exhaust you. And that to me is what I love surrounding myself with people. I love just every day just jabbing you in the face, jabbing you in the face, jabbing you in the face. And then eventually I'm going to win. Or you're better than me and you jab better and you beat me, which is okay too. But I'm going to make sure you understand you're in a fight. And that to me, whether you're an owner, a general manager, or director of housekeeping, or a housekeeper, every single day, if you want to do better, you have to be better, period.
I would go back to baseball analogy. Our industry loves baseball innings analogy, but I will.
What inning are we in the cycle?
I would phrase it a little differently. Baseball games are not won by home runs; they are won by singles and doubles.
Yep.
And that's exactly what you're saying. That if you are not able to hit that grounder, or if you're not able to have that single, chances of you winning are a lot lesser. Because if you try to hit home run, chances are you're going to be successful 1 in 10 times or even more. So yes, you are right. You have to prepare yourself in all facets, not just one area.
When I was growing up, there was a guy named Dave Kingman on the Mets. He had the most home runs that year and the most strikeouts that year.
Amen.
What was that, like 1975 or something like
Yeah,
that?
Dave Kingman, man. That's a name, Dave Kingman, huh?
Yeah. All right. So I want to ask you about consumers, right? One of the the common things that we're led to believe, and I'm not sure I believe it or don't believe it, is that the younger generation, I'm speaking more of millennials, Generation Z. I know millennials are upwards of 40 years old right now. They say they're not as brand loyal. Part of me contends that younger consumers aren't brand loyal because they haven't figured out the brands that they like just yet. Do you think the up and coming consumers of tomorrow are actually not brand loyal, or perhaps they haven't figured it out? And how does that play into the future of brands in the hospitality industry
Great
as a
question.
About 5 years ago, there were statistics that millennials do not own homes. They like to rent. They don't want. Now millennials have started becoming homeowners because it's a stage of life. We
Right.
all have gone through that stage of life. So I believe the brand ownership, based on their affinity and comfort, will emerge and continue to grow among them as well. However, you have to always remember that their ability to research and recognize the right brand, whether now loyalty doesn't mean it is A brand or a B brand. They could be loyal to a hotel only in that market that is independent because they have done enough research and found out that that hotel meets or exceeds their expectations and it is a good price value proposition. So yes, loyalty will continue, but loyalty will broaden. It will not remain to just one or two or three brands. It will be multiple brands or no brands. It will be market driven. It will be local. It will be what you have to offer and what is your differentiating proposition in comparison to your competition. How you make their stay more enjoyable and comfortable, regardless of what brand name you have, and they will research that, and that will become their loyal.
So I have another question that's a little bit off topic, but it's interesting to me. You know, we all have our way of appreciating, respecting, or not appreciating, respecting money. Do you think that this opportunity of the pandemic, where everyone, first thing everybody did was grab cash and say, I'm holding on for dear life, and the people that had the cash, and then they conserved the cash, whether it be personal or professionally. Do you think this is going to allow the younger generation to have a true appreciation for a savings account and for an investment account and for understanding that rainy day that your grandparents and your parents were talking about? Well, we had, it's called COVID-19 was your rainy day. What do you think the psyche of the younger generation, do you think they'll be affected by that?
Hopefully so. If they were lower income younger generation, I see it happening. If they're upper income younger generation and savvy investors into public markets, they may not see it because they have made money during this pandemic time also.
Good
and
point.
their savings have grown. So they may think that, oh, I know how to make money in any environment. So it depends on what level of economical scale you belong to, and
Fascinating.
that will teach you. Yeah.
You know what? After this, you for president, can you run for president? Every time I ask you a question, I'll be honest with you. I've interviewed hundreds of people on the show and in my life, and every time I've asked you a question, I've learned something from your answer.
You're too kind. I
mean it. I mean it. I don't give compliments easily. I mean it. I was like, I didn't even think of that. I didn't think it from that perspective, but that's true.
When I see you next time, I'm going to buy you Macallan 18. Two of us, and Glenn will be invited, because that's my favorite beverage, and then we'll have some more conversation.
You know what's so funny? Someone sent me something for Christmas, and I'm a Johnny Walker Blue fan, and they sent me that instead because the place was out of it, and now I'm a fan.
Macallan 18 is my go-to drink.
I'm a fan. So once I'm done with my blue in my house, I'm going to Macallan 18.
To be honest, over the last 10 months, my go-to drink was whatever was in arm's length. But
you would like to own some stock in some liquor companies, I'd imagine, because they've done well. But that's a really good perception and a really good point, because I don't come from anything. You know, my mom did her best, and we always had a roof over our head. We always had milk in the refrigerator. I'm very fortunate. However, we didn't have piles of money sitting around, so it was always you're always a little worried. Those people, those younger people that have come from maybe means that they're always worried about money. Now is the time to invest. I'll give you the perfect example. My daughter had a birthday My twins had a birthday maybe 6-7 years ago. And I said, I want $100. So I took $100 each from them. And I said, I'm going to put this in a stock for you. Okay. And they just wanted their money. They just wanted their money. That one stock is $600 today. You know what they said to me? They're 21 years old. Can I have my money? I was like, no.
Yeah.
Now I have other investments for them, but they don't know about it. But I wanted to show them, but they want that money. I said, you're not getting that money until you're 35 years old. I mean, there's no reason, any money I have for you, you're not getting. But my point being is, that is the failure. I was lucky enough when I was younger to be so scared that I started, doing my own research. But that's the failure. It's just because you come from, if you could only invest $1, invest $1.
Anthony, your children are your reflection in the mirror. My children are my reflection in the mirror. So if we as a parent or any parent would live with the right means, regardless of what they have, and show to their children what is critical and important, believe it or not, they may not exhibit this in front of you, but eventually they will follow that.
Right.
They do. We just had somebody on that is in the hotel business.
On our show? How weird.
Yesterday. Nissenbaum.
2 days ago, Ronan Nissenbaum, who runs and hotels.
Right, and he said like he's traveled all over the world, run the Plaza, the Waldorf. He's run Adelson hotels. He's done it all, and he's been to 9 countries. And his kids always gave him crap because he was moving. Both his kids want to go in the hotel business. My daughter went to college. She comes home and she goes, "I get it." We're driving one day. She goes, "I get it." I go, "You get what?" She goes, "I get it." And what she saw was when she's around other people and other families, they interact differently. I remember one of my daughters told me one of the fathers from college, whatever, didn't drive their kid somewhere and they wanted to go somewhere. And he's like, "No, I don't want to." He had no other reason. And my daughter was shocked by that, literally shocked by that. She was, "Dad, you would have jumped in the car backwards and drove me." I said, "Yeah, because I like doing that. I don't care." But so as they go into the world, they just like we have, right? And they see things and they start measuring and go, okay, that family or that father or that mother or that job is better than the way I grew up, or it's not. And you're right. They're a reflection of us. And as they get older, you see that. But what I try to really, what I think is important right now, and I know we went off on a tangent, but is that do not take COVID-19 and what happened last year and don't ever not use a good tragedy. What's the quote? Waste a
good crisis?
A good crisis. A good crisis. So even if your family had the means to get through this crisis, I guarantee you your family was paddling under the ocean just a little bit because everybody was. And so don't waste a good crisis. Take this time to understand your business, understand your investment, understand if you're a front desk agent and you want to run a hotel one day, understand how to run that hotel from an owner standpoint.
So Raj, we've been talking about investments and where people could put their capital. You are now focused on that full time now that you've left the hotel brand ecosystem. At TST Capitals, what are some of the things that you're investing in that you have confidence in for 2021 and beyond?
I think there will be some opportunities of distress, no question. But it will not be as broad as people think. I think because of the P and continue to the future, allow owners to sustain. Number 2, financial institutions don't want to load up themselves with too many properties, so they're going to work out plans with various people who invested. I will also say this, that if you have a great location and a right location that you can go under construction in 2022, consider it seriously. I would also recommend not to go with too much leverage. Leverage your property at 60 to 55%. And whoever has leveraged the property within that range, I guarantee you they are not suffering nearly as much as many other that have leveraged their properties higher. So look into a new development opportunities where you can build your hotel and open by 2023, and you could be in the swing or the ball game very instantaneously. So there are multi-facet of opportunities that exist, in my opinion. And most importantly, as we have been talking about, become an educated investor. I will tell you this, Glenn. After running the brands and after becoming a part of corporate side, today I will be a much better hotel owner than I could have been prior to that, because you learn a lot, you understand what's critical, you understand what's important, you educate yourself, and that constant stays with you and it makes you better.
And isn't this crisis a little bit better in the sense of ownership? Because in 2008, people were playing with monopoly money, but now people have been leveraged 50, 60% for the most part, the real hotel owners. Is that true or not true?
So I think banks became cautious. They in the past, 80% of loan to value was very common. After 2008, it shrunk to 70, 75%. Yes, there were some transactions, but majority of the transactions were done in a good, fair manner. And many of the owners even became more conservative and went with 65, 60% of loan to value. And those are the owners are very appreciative of what they did. I call it living within your means. And you may have one less hotel, but you will have all successful hotels.
Right. And for those people that are not familiar with all of this talk, leverage is really how much money you are investing, what you're on the hook for, and then the rest is what usually the bank gets you and other loans. So we're just about running out of time over here, which is very sad, Raj. I feel like we got to have you back again to continue to talk about these issues soon enough, because I think we all learned so much today. Anthony, before we let him go, do you have any final questions for him?
I just wrote him a little private chat that I want to talk to him, but no, just, experience matters and thoughtfulness matters and paying attention matters and asking the right questions matter. And when we have a guest on your, of your quality on our show, we have a lot of great guests, but I really learned something, and there's nothing better than wanting to learn. And even at my age and my experience, sitting around the table with you has been a pleasure. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine. That's the only thing I don't share.
Raj, any shameless plug that you have for us today?
No, I think I would say better days are ahead, and they are going to come sooner than you think. Remain positive, look for positive, and it will become positive. Life is all about attitude.
So Kim wants a tour of your house. She likes your rounded upstairs balcony.
Please let me know when you're in Dallas area. I would be more than happy to invite you, Kim.
And just that balcony is courtesy of brands in the hospital.
That balcony is courtesy of a lot of effing hard work.
That's balcony of courtesy of the owners that trusted me, trusted my ability in helping them successful. So I would not be where I am without every single owner of the brand that I was affiliated.
But is it? And again, we're going over, but this is really what you said. Trust, right? It's like any client I have, the only thing I have, I don't care about any celebrity I have or any experience I have or any other hotel. It's like, if we're doing something today, whatever project it is, and I'm working on a lot of projects, but whatever it is, it's like, you have to trust me. And I have to earn that trust every day. And that's where my paranoia comes in. Because if an owner ever gets a call and said, hey, Anthony, remember what you told me? We should use this technology. Well, the guy down the block's using the other technology. It's better and more cost efficient. I mean, I'll lose sleep for a week.
Trust is the most critical component of any relationship, and in particularly business relationship.
Right. Excellent. Raj, I know you can't see the private chat behind us, so if you could just stay in the off-screen green room area for a minute. Anthony wants to talk to you as soon as we get off, so if you have time, please hang out with us. All right, sir?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Man, that was great. And I did want to say today I am not at the Kinley Hotel. It's going to be opening in Chattanooga, Tennessee, from our good friend over at Vision Hotel Group, Mitch Patel. I'm really looking forward to seeing this property. It's, again, a property that's going more in the direction of being a boutique hotel.
Let me see that again.
Let me move out of the way.
That lobby and it really talks to me, man, on every level.
And that's rendering.
It just talks to me on every level. I like the light. I like the color. I like the floor. I like the white table. I like the ceiling. It's simple. It's easy. It's a little quirky in its own way. I really like it.
And if you guys want to see more of the hotel, I got a slideshow up at novacancynews.com. Just click the news section. It'll be right there. I published that article last night. All right, Anthony, let's wrap this show up. We got a day to get on with. Tomorrow, we're going to have that great conversation. The head of NYC and Company and the Schubert organization. We're going to learn a lot from him about the future of New York. I expect it to be a hopeful conversation. Be sure to download our audio podcast versions of the show. I see, for example, Robin says she's missed a few sessions and need to catch up. Well, Robin, the audio version is the best way to catch up with the show. You can listen to all the shows on the go. Find them at Apple Podcasts. Find them at Google Play, wherever you prefer to get your podcast. Check out Checking In with Anthony and Glenn and No Vacancy with Glenn.
And Hauser. I think I was on Spotify the other day, and I was in my car, and I said I wanted to listen to a podcast, one of our podcasts or something, and I said, Spotify, please play it. And I think it was on Spotify.
Yep, it is. Don't worry about that. We got it there. And don't forget, guys, if you're frustrated by your revenues in this past year, you can get tax relief this year. Check out Bright Support. Find them at brightsupport.net/hotels or call them at 833-411-2233. Tell them No Vacancy sent you. All right, let's get out of here. Thank you guys so much for being here. Remember, the light is growing brighter now, and you've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself.